Welcome to lesson 4 of Journeying with the Plant Spirits. My hope is that you spent at least a few days since the last lesson really exploring what it feels like to sit intentionally and follow the medicine, to listen to the medicine as a carrier of the plant spirit as it moves through your body. And with that in place, now we can start planning a proper plant spirit journey, or a dedication, if you will. So, I like to offer 3 different paths for doing this work. First, everyone's at a different level. People get busy. Don't overwhelm yourself. If you're concerned, start small. If you're gung-ho and ready, or maybe you're not new to this work, you've done stuff like this before, go all in. I'm going to talk to you about doing plant spirit journeys that last 3, 9, and 29 days. So 3 days, very easy. Anyone can do that. Hard to screw that up. Great way to get your toe in the water. Feel it out, right? 9 days, a little more serious, right? This is better part of 2 weeks. And then, of course, a 29-day journey is, for me, what I consider to be a sit in my tradition. When you do 29 days, you have journeyed completely with the plant spirit. Now, once we get all this information out there, you can, of course, take creative license and do whatever you want. Maybe at the end of 29 days, you feel like you just got your whistle wet and you want to go more, so you end up doing 3 months. Totally fine. I have sat for 6 months with an individual plant before because that plant spirit told me that's what needed to happen, and I listened. I try to be somewhat obedient, though, when it comes to the plant spirits anyway. So 3 days, I think, is the minimum. You know, I could certainly offer you a 1-day option for this, but I don't think one journey is enough. I think making the commitment and showing up for it shows the plant spirits that you're serious, earns their trust, earns their favor, and it also does something for us, right? When we commit to doing the 3 days, the 9 days, the 29 days, and we do it, maybe not perfectly, but we do it, it helps us grow spiritually. It strengthens us, right? It creates more room within us to grow. And so I think to make the resolve, make the commitment, and follow through with it, even if imperfectly, don't get hung up on perfect, because you don't have anything to compare yourself to, right? Sorcery is about relationships, period. My sit and your sit are going to be 2 different sits, so you can let go of all that. But making the commitment and following through is very, very important. So here's what happens. And there are downloads below. So make sure to get those. It'll make this whole thing easier for you. You can get a visual hit or print these out and use them however you want to use them. Starting with the 3-day, okay? I like to do this at the full moon. I think aligning to the lunar tides is very, very important in this work, because the lunar tides very, very dramatically affect the plant spirits. At the new moon, the dark moon, the plant spirits are more invested in their realm. They are down in their roots. The sap, the vital force, and the energy of the plants has retreated down below the ground into the realm of otherness, the realm of the unseen. As the moon waxes, as it gets fuller and fuller and fuller, all the way to the full moon, the plant spirit rises back up and becomes more present in our world, right? The sap within the plant rises, the actual posture of the plant will change, the way the plant holds water changes. On the biological level, on the energetic level, this is like a breath for the plant spirits. So they're moving at the full moon into our world, and then back into their world towards the new moon, back into our world. So we're doing this work over the full moon because we want to engage with them when they're the most here. They're the most on our side of the hedge. It just makes things easier, right? So 3 days, the day before the full moon, the day of the full moon, and the day after, okay? So 3 days, and the full moon is right there in the middle, give or take. Doesn't have to be right on, it's okay. Sometimes the full moon happens at a weird time, like 2 a.m., and it's hard to figure out when you should do that. So be close, and that's all that matters. 3 days of doing exactly what we talked about in the previous lesson, okay? Sitting down, that first day you're going to make a resolve. You're going to reach out to the plant spirit and say, Ashwagandha, I'm going to sit with you for 3 days, 5 minutes each morning, 5 minutes each night, whatever, 5 minutes each morning and night if you have the time. And I'm going to just shut up and I'm going to listen and I'm going to see what you have to say for me, and I'm going to offer my gratitude in return. Now, we are going to be adding some steps in later lessons, so this is not the end of it. There's more, but this is where I want you to start. So that first day, we sit, we make our resolve, and we take our dose. Now, when we're only doing a 3-day journey, I suggest doing a therapeutic dose of the herbs all 3 nights, if that is safe and appropriate for you. So for example, if I was working with ashwagandha for 3 days, I would take a full dropper full as part of my sit, no problem. If it was an herb that was new to me, or maybe an herb that I didn't want a therapeutic dose of, maybe I was journeying with yarrow, and I was concerned about how drying yarrow is for my constitution, maybe I would just take 3 drops of tincture each sit to match the 3 days that I'll be sitting, right? Tiny little dose, not enough to affect an energetic change in the body that way, but enough to get the connection, to get the download. So no hard and fast rules here. Follow your intuition, do what feels right for you. When in doubt, come in slow. Come in quiet and slow and feel it out. After that 3 days, if you're like, I could have used louder, do another 3 days at 9 drops. Do another 3 days at 12 drops. Play with that, okay? There is a class out there from me on dosing. And in that class, we get into a lot of nuances of how to choose these numbers and why they're important and what they mean. So if you kind of want to go deeper into where these numbers of dosing come from, go do that class, dosing class. So 3 days, drops on the first day with your resolve, drops on the second day, the full moon, drops on the third day, you're done. You completed it. You did what you said you were going to do. I like to do a little something on that third day to express my gratitude for whatever I received from the plant spirits. Read back over your notes for those 3 days. Look how cool everything is that you experienced, and move on with your life with that wisdom carried inside of you forever. Once you do a dedication like this, especially the 29-day dedication, that connection is part of you. It does not go away. It is always there. That relationship is always there, so we can lean into that when we need it, which is very cool. So 9 days, same idea. Start 4 days before the full moon. You're taking your drops once a day, once a day, once a day. On that 5th day is the full moon, full moon, and then 4 more days of waning moon. What I like is with a 9, you can actually start playing with the dosing protocol. So that would mean that on day 1 of your 9-day sit, you're making your resolve, you're taking 1 drop. Day 2, 2 drops. Day 3, 3 drops. Day 4, 4 drops. Day 5, this is the day of the full moon, 5 drops. So you see that we are increasing the dose as the moon increases in brightness. Okay, does this make sense? Then the next day after the full moon, now the moon is waning, it's decreasing, we also decrease. So now on the 6th night, we do 4 drops, then 3, then 2, then 1 on the 9th night. So we're increasing our dose every night up until the full moon, and then decreasing our dose every night after the full moon, increasing with the waxing moon, decreasing with the waning moon. This in and of itself is a powerful act of sorcery that brings us into alignment with the lunar tides, acknowledges those subtle flows, those ebbs and flows of energy that move with the moon, and bring us into a connection with the medicine that makes sense for what is happening in the world of the plant spirits. Okay, this is us trying to meet them halfway as much as we possibly can. And it is appreciated and is magical. So for a 9-day sit, I suggest starting with 1 drop, peaking at 5 drops, ending with 1 drop. Now, you can play with that. You could maybe start with 3 drops and go up a drop, or maybe you go up 3 drops every day. So day 1 is 3 drops, day 2 is 6 drops, day 3 is 9, and so on, and then decreasing by 3 until you get back to 3. play with this however you want. Again, the little handouts will help. So now we get to the real sit, 29 days. Again, play with 3 days, play with 9 days, get a feel for it, build some confidence and some competence in the work, and then get into this 29-day stuff. Don't mess around. This is where the real power is. Why? You've probably already guessed. Because our dosing structure follows the full lunar cycle when we do a 29-day sit, okay? So here's what happens. The day after a new moon, so that when you go outside, if you're able to see the moon, you get that little sliver of light on the right-hand side of the moon, okay? That's night 1, 1 drop. Night 2, 2 drops. Night 3, 3 drops, or daytime, whenever you do it. I always sit at night, so I just revert to saying night. So we're starting with 1 drop, adding a drop every night as we go towards the full moon. Okay? And then at the full moon, we're generally taking 14 or 15 drops, depending on the month. Some months have 28, some days have 29. Occasionally we'll get a 30. You have to figure this out yourself. You have to look at a moon calendar and see when is the new moon, when is the full moon, when is the new moon, and you build your sit around the full moon. That's the middle of your sit, and you count how many days before it, how many days after it to get your number. Again, handouts will help. So day 1, 1 drop, day 2, 2 drops, day 3, 3 drops, increasing as the moon increases in its light, hitting that highest dose, usually 14 or 15 drops, on the day or night of the full moon, and then decreasing by 1 drop, 15, 14, 13, 12, as the moon wanes and becomes darker and quieter and the plant spirits retreat into their world of mystery. Okay, so we are starting out with a quiet, subtle, tiny drop when the plant spirits are at their most subtle, when they're invested in their roots in the other world, in the darkness. And as they slowly rise in sap and in power towards our world with the waxing moon, we also increase our dose every single sit until we hit the full moon. And then we honor their journey back, their exhalation back into the green realm, into the world of spirit, by decreasing our dose every single day. Very, very simple, very powerful. I think that anyone who has some experience doing work like this will feel how incredible it is when all of this aligns, how great of a format this is, which I was taught directly from the plant spirits and has been one of the most important parts of my practice over the years, and one of the greatest ways that I've been able to learn directly from the plant spirits is doing this work month after month after month. Again, sometimes towards that 28th day, 29th day, the plant spirit says, I'm not done with you yet. Go again. So we go again. Sometimes the plant spirit that I'm sitting with tells me who I should sit with next. Gives me some inspiration or a synchronicity or a dream. Something happens that tells me I just sat with this plant. Here's who I'm going to sit with next. Sometimes I have a health issue that arises that gives me an invitation to choose who I will sit with next. Right? That can be very powerful as well. Always the 29-day sit though. And within that, there are rituals that we can perform. Within that, there are altars we can build, invocations we can say, offerings that we can make. I'm going to cover that in a later class. For now, don't worry about it. What I would like for you to do is go get on the interwebs, look up a moon calendar, find the next full lunar cycle that you can sit, and make a plan to do it. Figure out what herb you want to connect with, whether you're going to sit for the 3 days over the full moon, 9 days centered around the full moon, or you're going to just go in and do a 29-day. Make a plan right now to do it. Go figure out when it is. Okay, so what you need to look for is, when is the next new moon? Your journey starts the day after that. How many days until the full moon? That tells you how many drops you'll do, and then how many days after, making sure that it's even. So if you have 14 drops and then 15th at the full moon, you should have 14 on the other side, even if it makes you end a day or two early of the next new moon. It's totally okay. Don't overthink it. This is not exact science. This is us just, loosely aligning to the lunar tides. I will give you in later lessons more things to do, more things you can add as you go, but for right now, let's keep it simple. This in and of itself, as is, so powerful. Remember these points. Set your intention on night one or on day one with that first dose, okay? Acknowledge the power of the plants at the full moon at the day of your highest dose, whether that's however many drops, right? Doesn't matter. On the day of the last dose, express some gratitude. Make an offering, burn a candle, light some incense, pour a libation, or just speak gratitudes to the plant spirit that you're working with, and read back over all of your notes so that you can survey what actually happened, right? Sometimes, even in 9 days, we forget what happened on day 1, 2, 3. So set your resolve, acknowledge the tides, the strengthening of the medicine, the subtling of the medicine, and then give thanks at the end. Very important to give back, whether it's ritually with offerings or it's a simple thank you expressed from your heart of hearts. Both of them are fine. Going to give you some other ideas for how to do that in later lessons. For right now, this lesson is done. Go look at that lunar calendar and get your plans made.